So I think since we on a serious note, and I guess laughing, we can y'all want to start with the Jordan Neely. Like, have y'all been watching the story or following any of the situation with Jordan Neely in a New York subway?
A
No.
little bit,
Oh
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
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 Yeah,
Yeah, I've been just looking at it a little bit. Obviously, you have like people's like the Candace Owens and the Fox News pretty much saying they don't really care, and then they always throw like that. He's been arrested so many times. Nobody really kind of talking about that. All of them had something to do with mental health. And then for me, the tragic part is his his mother supposedly was murdered, choked. She was choked and supposedly stuffed in some kind of suitcase and thrown somewhere. So like he and his aunts and family members saying he's kind of been on a downward spiral since then. And but I'm just curious what y'all think. They said it was a video of him saying I'm tired, I need food, and I don't care if I get harmed or go to jail. Um, but I don't see the video of him saying that or throwing his jacket down, a shirt down, or whatever. All I saw was like the one video. But what are y'all perception, responses, and thoughts on that so far?
Well, what blew me is the black people standing around watching.
Yeah, there was one guy. Yeah, I saw one guy, one black guy. Well, and also I think I think it was three white men. Looked like three white men. The other two white men was holding his arms while they was
Yeah, but
choking him up.
right, but I saw like the black dude that was standing there. Listen, I just got back from New York, and uh the amount of people that are struggling with mental illness that have just been literally abandoned to the streets, that just have no facilities, no resources, no support, is they're everywhere. In New York, and when I here in Chicago, like I had to go, well, as I left, I mean, here in Chicago, so you encounter them everywhere. And my sons both take transit a lot more than I do, and every time they come home they encounter these people. But the statistics demonstrate that people struggling with mental health crises and episodes are far more likely to harm themselves than others. And also, people who suffer from mental illness are more likely to be victims of violence from neurotypical people than they are to inflict violence on us. So
break it down. So what is exactly said to have happened? I have not.
So
I've not wanted to watch the video. I was out of capacity these last couple of days anyway. But Commissioner, so yeah.
So after his mother was killed, they say he was on a downward spiral. What he did to cope with it was perform Michael Jackson impersonations.
Right. I'm talking about the incident. Right. Sorry, keep going. You're right.
Yeah, but that's just the preface. But this particular time, and again, I haven't seen this video. He was yelling like, I need food, I'm hungry, and he's pretty much like frustrated about his living conditions. And he said, I don't care if I go to jail today or die. And supposedly he like was yelling at people. Again, this is speculation. He was yelling at people, and then he threw down his jacket or coat or whatever he had on. And then they said that's when the first white guy started strangling him. Go ahead. But this is my thing. Like, I understand. Like, I can imagine. Like, so for instance, the day his mother got killed, he tried to go in the room and tell his mother goodbye for school, and the dude won't let him. Like, the dude blocked him from doing that. So next, again, his mother is found in some suitcase or whatever. So I can imagine the mental health. I can imagine but I also, like, I don't think you have to, like if you can coherently tell people like, I'm hungry, I need this or whatever, like he's communicating to them, and maybe he's in an erratic way or whatever. So I feel like there's multiple things going on at this time. But
I have to say, one of the people who subdued him, and while the Yurugu was choking him to death, it was a black man who was restraining his arms.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It wasn't three white dudes.
So it's a black man. Yeah, I did see one guy
that literally had him in like an arm hold. I just shared the picture in the private chat. It was a black dude that was also restraining him. It wasn't.
You're right.
All white people. So that's what really blew me.
And
I don't know if folks, yeah, I guess we don't need to show it, but I don't know if folks want to see. But
also
ahead,
like
yeah.
one of the things that I'm kind of like, again, this guy is aware enough to say what he need, but the other kind of like, to me, really painful experience is like he later on find out that his mother was choked to death. Literally, why he's being choked to death, like I can imagine the type of things that he's thinking. Obviously, what he's yelling out for: I want food, I need this, I'm tired of my situation. And then like minutes later, you literally being choked out. And again, go ahead.
No, I can't prove it, but I actually, I don't even think I said it publicly, but so I can't prove my claim here, but I knew this was going to happen. There's been over the last couple of years, this rise in MMA style fighters coming to the rescue of people in public and being heralded as heroes. And in some cases they may have been, but I knew this was going to happen. That, and I believe, I have no evidence, so this is all Jared's speculation. But I just believe this dude was trained, capable, this white dude, and was happy. Even more to my point, Marines are insane. Marines are made to be insane. So I have no doubt that he couldn't wait, and he wanted to get his heroic moment, and to get put on this extended list of MMA heroes. And here we go.
And beyond this individual, this is a bloodthirsty culture. This is a bloodthirsty society.
Yeah.
America is a death cult at this point. And I think back to not just this individual, that just normal everyday people we interact with who arm themselves and fantasize about their opportunity, or boast about, oh, I wish somebody would try me, and if they touch mine, and just fantasizing about their moment, like I said, where they imagine they're going to go out in a blaze of glory, or even people who are revolutionary, who arm themselves and preparing from some fanciful or some great armed engagement with the enemy, when your enemy is oppressing you through bureaucracy, where they're sitting in boardrooms and on televised town hall meetings, stripping away your humanity and your rights. They're not even kicking in your doors, So I think this is indicative, the fact that even if you have this individual Marine who's out to catch a body, and you see how the larger people, where this is a culture where people will stand around and watch you be murdered. And then there'll be a large segment of the population. Then after he's murdered, you might get some protests. You'll get a hashtag. You'll get all this reflection. But in that moment, this death cult of a society, even the people participating in the protest asking for your justice will then turn around and be like, yo, I stay strapped. I got my conceal. There was this lawyer. I was just listening to this legal case, since we getting all these cease and desist and all these threats for legal. I went to this lawyer's website, and part of his bio was like, yeah, I have a concealed carry license. I'm armed at all moments, everywhere I go. Had nothing to do with his legal advice, his area of legal expertise. And he just wanted everybody to know, because he's a public figure, I stay ready. I stay strapped. The United States, Judeo-Christian American, puritanical, it is a death cult, and it has a death urge. And even we who believe in justice and freedom have fully been indoctrinated and ingrained in this. And we got as many bloodthirsty Pan-Africans, bloodthirsty so-called conscious people as we do these rednecks and these hillbillies. And when I speak out on it, people attack me and question my revolutionary credentials, because I'm like, I don't think this is appropriate or healthy.
So there's a couple things that even in my personal life, I experienced this idea of the reaction to people dying, right? So we might need something while we're alive. Doesn't happen when you're dead. People throwing money at your situation, right? So there's 27,000 that Keontae said that was raised, right? Already for the brother.
Are you serious?
And, I mean, that's just what I'm seeing off of there. So I don't. It could be like the funeral situation or whatever, but I would have to verify that. But I do know that's kind of a thing. Like people have way more money to respond to deaths than they do to possibly prevent deaths. And again, I don't know if we should blame or whatever, but I just think sometimes that's ironic. And then I wonder how you think about this idea of public transport being unsafe and whole concept of self-defense. Because again, I think we have all these different conversations other than a young boy, because he lost his mom really young. I think he was like 14, and then he had to do a trial at 18. And all of his priors that they're talking about all are a result of mental health. And so we're talking about everything except that, seems like his record, this and all this. And so I wonder how do y'all think to have like a obviously layered conversation, and then what to do afterwards? Like what should we be focusing on, and like how to even engage in those situations?
I call this atrocity hopping. Because I really, not to dismiss this atrocity, but there's really no more conversations to be had. Because every time, this happens too often for us to pretend like, oh, this incident will bring up some issues or open up a space for discussion. This is the status quo. So, how many more atrocities is it going to take for us? I think if this is your opening, if you are an adult, if you are a fully functional adult, and this is your revelation that, there's problems here for mental health and this and that. So it's not this. I think a lot of these dialogues allow for the status quo to be maintained. The system in itself, this very culture is alienating. I call Karl Marx a secular prophet, because you read some of his writings, and I tell you, if you tweak the language a little bit, and if you don't put the who said it, you can publish that anywhere, and people would think it was written yesterday. People would think it was written last week, because it is so accurate about alienation and how we are all on edge.
Do you remember Diallo? This is probably too old for Geechee. What was that white boy in the 80s that killed himself over the homeless issue and created? And wasn't that the spark for Hands Across America?
Yeah. Yeah, I ain't trying to laugh, because they're trying to do a new Hands Across America. They're trying to do a digital.
Are you serious?
Yes, I just got a link for that. So,
well, I was in the original one as a kid. I was in the original one, but I remember then even thinking, or I guess when was I would have been a old kid or a young teenager, and they said this dude killed himself because he had basically given up over the fight over homelessness, and we're doing his Hands Across America, like the first like the pre-hashtag era of super empty events, like emptiness, And even then I remember asking, like, we stood in our line somewhere out here in Howard County, Maryland, and I put my, held hands with whoever. And I remember even thinking then, like, how does this translate? Like, how does this become something that actually addresses? And then here we are in 2023, and not only is homelessness still a major issue, but those in power are trying to rebrand it as the problem. What do they call it? Urban camping. I heard the phrase yesterday. They call it urban camping, and that they just want to be out there to sell drugs and get drugs and live freely in the street
right.
Anyway.
Yeah, but the liberals are now calling them the unhoused.
The unhoused and houseless. Yes.
As opposed to homeless. Listen, I read this article way back in like 94, 95. I can't find it for the life of me, so I don't really like to quote it. But there was this concept in this article called Dancing the Slaves. And Dancing the Slaves was basically like, you got a horrible system of chattel slavery. So you have to have like this pressure valve to stop rebelling. So the reason why slaves were given periodic rest to dance and emote and let all their fear and frustration be sent up to heaven, or dissipated through the soil, is dancing the slaves. And so you have this society where everybody's on a razor's edge. where any one of your fellow citizens is equipped and prepared to take your life, for anybody to step out of the lines, that anybody that and they interpret almost any and everything anyone else does as a threat. And so the Dancing the Slaves, that Hands Across America, these protests, these hashtags, these petitions, these going on GoFundMe and drop $5, to me, that's the modern day version of Dancing the Slaves, because then we just go right back to the systems and institutions of capitalism and white hegemony and play our role as cogs, robots, slaves to this system, saying, I have done something.